Moving abroad can sometimes feel like you're starting from scratch. It can feel overwhelming, but it can be an opportunity to have a second chance to rediscover yourself, your values, your voice, your vision, to redefine what success looks like for you, and to rebuild your life on your terms, to be true to yourself and to not make any compromises. So today I'm very excited to talk to you or share 5 tips about how you can reinvent yourself abroad. This is something very near and dear to my heart because I moved to the US because I wanted to reinvent myself. I worked in the science, biotech, food tech industry back in India. I have a degree, a master's degree in zoology and biotech. And I moved to the US to study film because I wanted to do something creative and film seemed really exciting. But before I go any further, if you haven't met me before, my name is Naina Kaputi. I'm the founder and CEO of the Expat Woman, and I make videos to help women make bold moves abroad. So let's talk about the 5 tips. Let's start with tip number 1, which is clarity. So you have to get clear on what your voice is, what your vision is, what your values are when you're reinventing yourself abroad. So I was talking also about redefining what success looks like for you. Maybe back in your country, success was defined by the size of the house, the cars you owned, the schools you sent your kids to, and maybe when you move abroad, those things don't matter so much. Now, when I was studying in India, being a doctor or an engineer was a big deal. And if you've watched some of my previous videos, I'll share links to those in the description, but I did one about my expat journey and then also finding your superpower. My dad was very keen that I be an engineer or a doctor. He's an engineer. All the men in my family are engineers. My brother's an engineer. My uncles are engineers, etc. I didn't do engineering or medicine, but I did science. Partly also because I felt like science showed that I was intelligent. I think I had lack of self-confidence. I had some cousins who did really well in school, and I always compared myself to them, and I felt to prove myself, I should do my bachelor's and master's in a science-related topic. Engineering and medicine were not exciting for me, so at least I made that choice, but I did science. And then when I got fed up of the jobs I was doing, I decided to do film and came to New York to study. So that was where my reinvention journey started. So I knew what I didn't want to do at some point in my life, and that's what you can do when you move abroad. Sometimes you move because of your job, so you could reinvent yourself in terms of finding a new department or role within the company, or you've moved with your spouse or partner and then you don't have an opportunity to work because of visa situations, you can still find ways to reinvent yourself. And then, of course, if you've moved like me for education to learn something new, or you've got the visa lottery, or you were just able to move but you don't have a job, and you know you want to do something but you're not sure what, you can take a step back. So you need to pause. When I came to the US, I was running around like a headless chicken. Once I was done with studying film, I did meet my husband. Again, I shared that story in the other video where I talk about from a student visa to US citizenship. But I was sure after I did this film course, that I didn't want to work full time in film. I did make a few short films. I did make a documentary film, but I didn't want film to be my career. And so I worked in nonprofits for a while. So I kind of pivoted along the way. And every time I did a new career pivot, I got clearer. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I was trying to find something back in India. I said I worked in the science, biotech fields, in the corporate world. I knew I didn't want to work in the corporate world. And then when I was working for the non-profit organizations, I realized I don't want to work for anyone. I want to be independent. I want to have the flexibility. I want to not have to answer to anyone. I want to be able to travel. And so I started my own business. So those were my values, that these were the things I wanted to do. And for me, success was being happy in the career I have. Of course, we want to make money, but I wanted to be happy with what I was doing to create impact and influence, and of course, also create income. So think about that. What are your values? What you want to do? Does it align with those values? And then what is your vision? What's your long term vision? Maybe what's your vision for the first year, for the first 3 years, for the first 5 years in the country you move to? Maybe you're a digital nomad or you're not sure how long you're going to be in that country. And you can take that reinvention to whichever country you move to next. So just keep those in mind. For you to have clarity, you need to do things. You need to put yourself out there. You need to try things. So just also don't just sit on the couch and ponder and keep thinking about what should I do, how do I reinvent yourself. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Like with me, I've been in the US 23 years and I've seen so many career pivots. And now, as a founder of the Expat Woman, empowering other women abroad to make bold moves to share their vision, their voice, to create their impact and influence, I feel I have reinvented myself and now I'm helping other women reinvent themselves abroad. My tip for you would be to create a vision board. Put down values that align with what you want to do. Put down what your vision is. What do you want to see yourself doing in a year, in 5 years? What do you want to achieve? It could be professionally, personally, but what do you think makes you happy? Keep a journal, write down your intentions every day, write down your goals. So just kind of do it intentionally. I didn't do mine intentionally. I wasn't even really thinking strategically, but I had some kind of vision that this is what I don't want to do and this is what I want to do. And when I came to the US to study film, I wasn't planning to stay in the US. I was going to go back to India and work in the non-profit film industry there. And then when I met my husband and we got married very quickly after I met him, I decided to stay, obviously not decided, I stayed on. And that's when I knew I didn't want to make film my career. And then I knew I wanted to give back. I wanted to work in the non-profit organizations. I didn't want to work in the corporate world anymore. It was just not for me. I wanted to make a difference. And so you can see that I had clarity. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about entrepreneurship. It came before I started working at the non-profits, when I thought about creating something for professional women living abroad, because I had so many struggles when I moved to this country. So reinvention can also come from pain, from challenges, hurdles that you face, and you want to make a difference or provide solutions for people who are in similar situations to you to overcome those challenges. Tip number 2 can be owning and sharing your story. Now, this can be very simple. It can be why you moved abroad, what you hope to achieve in your new life abroad, what kind of job would you like to do, or maybe even your backstory, what you did in the country that you left behind. And where do you share your story? It could be at a party, it could be at events in person or virtual when people ask you to introduce yourself, or when you do one-on-one networking, maybe you meet someone for a coffee chat. Or if you want to take it a step further, it could be sharing about your story on social media posts, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram. And maybe you haven't defined your story completely. You're still working on the clarity piece. As I said before, when you put yourself out there, clarity comes. So share whatever your current story is. Maybe you can start doing YouTube videos, and I am going to be doing a series of videos teaching women living abroad how they can share their stories, their expertise, their experiences, their insights on YouTube. So maybe think about YouTube, maybe think about blogs, maybe think about speaking at events, or even hosting your own virtual or in-person workshops or webinars or meetups where you can talk about your story and inspire other people. And keep in mind, be authentic. Share a story that you know is true to you, true to your values, true to your vision, true to your voice, because that's how you'll inspire other people and that's how you will get clarity. Don't be somebody else. We no longer have that pressure from family or friends because we might have moved away from them. So now here's an opportunity to truly step into the story that you want to share. So tip number 3 is experiment with different roles and identities. As I mentioned in the earlier tip, you no longer have that pressure of family, friends, peers, colleagues to be someone that you don't really want to be. Like when I moved away from India, I didn't feel that pressure of having a full time job or bringing in a salary every month. Now, that was great, but I kind of felt a certain amount of freedom. I knew I didn't want to go back into that world. I could have tried and got a job based on my experience in India because I did work for multinational companies, but I wanted to do something different. And I no longer had to answer to anyone. My husband didn't care. So I had that freedom, and that gave me the opportunity to experiment with many different roles. I started off with working in an after school program. That was the first job I was offered, and I grabbed it because I wanted to make some money. I was not used to not working, and I hated it. I don't mind kids, but I don't like working with kids in a school. So that I knew was not for me. But I did try it out because I wanted a taste of working in the US. That was the first job that came my way. But luckily it was part time, so I had time to do other things. And then, of course, I worked in non-profit. I made documentary films. I made short films. So I was constantly experimenting, trying out different roles. And maybe you don't have a work permit, so you can volunteer. You can do a lot of free things. You could maybe host free workshops online. You could help people with stuff. When I was initially running the Expat Woman, I had a volunteer who could not work in the US, but she wanted to grow her graphic design business when she got the work permit. And so she used to do graphic designs for me, for my events. And she was trying out a role. She was experimenting. You wanted to be a speaker. You can start small. You can find organizations where you can speak at. When I worked for a nonprofit, Upwardly Global, we would invite people to come in and speak to our job seekers on different topics. Even now with the Expat Women membership, my inner circle, the paid community for high achieving women living abroad, I do invite speakers sometimes to come in and share their expertise. And of course, I encourage all my members to host master classes and talk about a topic, experience, skills that other members can benefit from. So if you look, you will find those opportunities. But I think it's very exciting if you look at this as a chance to really learn and experiment and try out different roles that you may not have had a chance to do when you were living in the country you moved from because you had a full-time job or you were studying, or as I said before, you didn't really think about stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something new because there were all these expectations from you. You wanted to please your family, your friends. You didn't want to rock the boat. You didn't want to take any risks or chances. When you move abroad, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're already taking a risk. So why not take a few more risks? Tip number 4 is find your community. Find your tribe. Find like-minded women who are also on similar journeys or paths to yours. Either they've already reinvented themselves or they're on the path to reinventing themselves. They inspire you, they motivate you, they lift you up, you learn from them, they learn from you. For instance, I started the Expat Woman membership. As I mentioned earlier, it's the paid community for purpose-driven, high-achieving women who want to come together to collaborate, who want community, who want opportunities, who create content to share their voice, to create impact, influence, and elevate their income. And it's amazing because I see so many women in there supporting each other, collaborating with each other to share their voices. We have members who host podcasts, who host videos, who bring on other members to interview them. And it also gives them the courage because maybe they don't want to go solo, so they bring on members and they discuss stuff. Also, when someone's having a challenge, a hurdle, they want to brainstorm, there's other members within the membership who can support them. So find a community like that. I'd love for you to join the Expat Woman membership. It's open to any woman living abroad or someone who's planning to move abroad or repatriated or has a service or business for women living abroad. So we really have a diverse group of women and they're at different stages in their journey. Some of them have just started reinventing themselves. Some of them have already reinvented themselves, but they all have a similar goal and they all believe in supporting and lifting each other up. I will share a link to that in the description. But just start looking around. If you don't want to join the Expat Women membership, you could start your own little community. You could look for communities. There's so many opportunities out there, especially with this virtual world. It doesn't have to be in the country you move to. You can find something virtually. You can find communities virtually, Facebook groups, etc. And we also have a free Facebook group besides our paid membership. So I'll share a link to the Facebook group as well in the description. And finally, the most important tip is be patient and consistent. Reinventing yourself is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It could happen overnight or it can take years. It's taken me many years, 20 plus years, to really rediscover and step into what I truly love, empowering women living abroad, helping them make bold moves, and then also helping them create content and show up on platforms like LinkedIn and now YouTube to share their voice and their vision, their expertise, their skills, their experiences, their stories. But it's not always easy. Even now, there's times when it's slow. For instance, this YouTube channel, I have stepped into creating a more robust YouTube channel, growing it, hoping to monetize it. And I'd say I started this seriously and strategically in April. When I'm recording this video, it is May. It's been very slow growth. Maybe some videos get about 100 views. The subscribers are trickling in. I barely get any comments. I've done live streams where no one's shown up. I know the process is slow as an entrepreneur and also someone who's moved abroad and had to face so many challenges and realize and learn that how slow things are. Even, setting up your life in another country, navigating is a slow process. And there's so many challenges that happen along the way. So the same thing with reinventing yourself. You've got to be patient. You've got to be consistent. Even when things don't go your way, you've got to keep showing up. If you don't, you're not going to get that clarity. You're not going to be able to share your story. You're not